Mike. I'm back in the building. Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? Yes, sir, ski. If you don't know, you won't know. It is your boy, AB, and I'm back in the building for another installment of the Just Factz podcast or the No News Just Factz podcast, whichever one you decide to use. I don't care. But we're back in the building, or should I just say me? I'm back in the building for another one of these podcasts. And hey, man, I just want to get started by saying hopefully everybody is doing well. It is the month of October. It is October 1st, 2024. And I'm just hoping that everybody gets to a place of prospering in the month of October. Hopefully whatever thing you have going on, hopefully the best. I'm hoping for the best to happen for you. You know, September was a difficult time for a lot of people, including myself. Once again, hopefully, everything goes well for you as a listener. Shout outs to all the people who have jobs. Shout outs to all the people who are looking for jobs. And hey, also shout out to all the people who do not have a job currently at this moment in time. You just gotta keep a little bit of hope, keep some faith, and everything will go in the direction you want it to go, even though our economy is crumbling as I speak those words of encouragement. I do just want to go ahead and start off talking about something I just kept seeing on TikTok about a port strike. Apparently there is a port strike going on, or dock strike. If you don't know, the importers, exporters of America, the different ports are on strike because of they don't believe they're getting paid fairly. That's as far as I could tell you. I'm going to be playing this clip right now just to better get a more a better point of view on it.
We're 12 hours out. And if you guys work for any of these stores, I actually want to hear from you. You can pause to read. Let me move my head out of the way. $240 billion of goods are moved through these ports right here, which are set to close due to the East Coast and Gulf Coast strike in under 12 hours. This will affect 50,000 ILA union members. I'll also move my head so you can read these again. I've actually had people in my comments saying that a couple of the ports are already starting to slow down for the day. This is extremely concerning considering everything that's gone on this week with the hurricanes, the tornadoes, and the flood devastation. If you go to the playlist below, I have a lot of other videos explaining everything that's going on. Please do not panic, but just be informed this is probably going to happen. There's a high probability. Again, President Biden has said he's not going to step in and evoke the Taft-Hartley. Let's hope that over the next 12 hours, they will come back to the table. The United States Maritime Alliance and the IAL will come to the table together, and they will come to some sort of agreement.
Strike that could disrupt, some say even cripple, nearly every part of our economy. At least 25,000 dock workers in 14 ports from Texas all the way to Massachusetts could walk off the job tonight. Negotiations between their union and the shipping industry have been stalled since back in June. A strike could affect nearly half of America's ports, leading to shortages of everyday items like pharmaceuticals, produce, fresh meat, cars, you name it, driving up prices across the board. JP Morgan Chase says that a dock strike could cost the American economy about $5 billion every day. A strike that could...
So realize that this strike is basically not good for the consumer. Basically, you and me who go to a grocery store and buy food and, go to a grocery store and buy food, or people who want want to go buy a car, or anything like that, the strike is just all around terrible for everyone, including the workers who are putting themselves on strike for it, because this also affects them as well. I don't know if there's, let me see if there's more on it. Let me see here.
This morning, a strike is looming at ports along the east and Gulf Coast that could cost the American economy billions of dollars per day and potentially lead to shortages for consumers.
A strike of this magnitude would cripple the U.S. economy.
Dock workers represented by the International Longshoremen's Association are threatening to go on strike Tuesday. The strike would affect 45,000 workers.
45,000 workers is craziness.
Analysts warn a walkout
Nah,
more
man.
than a week could lead to major supply chain disruptions.
My lord.
Anything imported could be delayed,
Uh.
including fresh produce,
Wow.
toys, alcohol, and vehicles and parts.
So basically everything.
Experts warning if you need your
Like,
car-
man, you'd be hard pressed to like think this was like something out of a history book, because in real time this is happening right now. Not only is there hurricanes going on the East Coast, right? But now all of a sudden there's strikes from union port workers. Like, what is that? And then it's the fact that like they let it happen. Like they're letting these union workers just strike instead of like they should have just negotiated before there was ever even a strike, man. Like, what is that? It doesn't make any type of sense. We as the consumers have to suffer because the government doesn't want to be fast and negotiate. Like, can you imagine that? They don't want to be fast and de-escalate something like this. And now, as the way it looks, it seems as though like you're gonna have to go get your stuff, because at some point, if this strike stays on long enough, there's gonna be a shortage. It's gonna be a shortage of goods. That means you can't go to Walmart and get some ordinary, some bread or some rice or something simple. You're probably not gonna be able to go get it, so you have to go and get what you need quickly, which is making me understand like why people who shop at like Sam's or Costco buy in bulk, because they see stuff like this happening a mile away. So they're like, okay, to avoid that, I'm going to go buy in bulk, So, I mean, I get it now. It makes all the sense in the world now that those people who buy in bulk, that's the reason why they buy in bulk, because they know that like potentially something like this could happen, or, say a hurricane like there is going on the East Coast and Florida and everything like that. So, it's still going on. Let me see if I can find more information on it. More information on this before I decide to just let me see. Port workers strike. Okay. 50,000 members of the International Longshoremen's Association are on strike. Started on Tuesday against the nation's east and Gulf Coast ports, choking off the flow of many of America's imports and exports in what could become the country's most disruptive work stoppage in decades. Okay. Yeah. See here. What else is there on this? Businesses becoming nervous, stuck on the sidelines and watching with great concern are businesses that depend on the movement of goods. More than 200 groups sent a letter to the White House last week asking the Biden administration to step in to prevent a strike, saying the country relies on moving both imports and exports through these ports. The last thing the supply chain companies and employees need is a strike or other distributions because of an ongoing labor negotiation. Read the letter. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce sent a follow-up letter Monday urging President Joe Biden to exercise powers under what is known as the Taft-Hartley Act, which became a law in 1947 to keep the ports open and longshore workers on the job. President George W. Bush applied the act in 2002 to halt an 11-day lockout of union members at West Coast ports. But Biden told reporters on Sunday that he has no intention of using the powers he has under Taft-Hartley. No, Biden says, because it's collective bargaining, and I don't believe in Taft-Hartley. The White House, in a statement Tuesday, said President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are closely monitoring the strike, but they believe collective bargaining, not a stroke of a pen, is the best way to solve a strike. So basically, what he's saying is, basically, come to an agreement. Basically, the union workers and the managing upper powers over them need to just come to an agreement, is what he's saying. Biden is basically saying, I'm not going to get involved. I'm not going to invoke any type of act to make workers continue to work when you guys need to just figure it out and give them what they're asking for. That's basically what that means. The president has directed his team to convey his message directly to both sides that they need to be at the table and negotiating. See what I mean? In good faith and fairly and quickly, because he's like, y'all need to go ahead and negotiate and make it fast because you guys run our economy. You guys are the soul, you guys are the heartbeat of our economy. And without y'all and y'all striking and everything, our economy is going to dwindle, crumble. When the lights aren't on, nobody can see in the dark, you know? Let me see here. At the table and negotiating in good faith, fairly and quickly, a White House spokesman said in a statement, senior White House and administration officials continue to work around the clock to get both sides to continue negotiating towards a resolution. Okay, there are numerous ways the workers can slow the flow of freight while strictly following rules in the current contract. In a video posted in early September, the ILA's Daggett said if members were forced back to work, they would likely only move a small fraction of their normal cargo on purpose. Do you think when members go back to work that those men are going to work on that pier? He said on the video message, it's going to cost the companies money to pay their salaries while it goes from 30 moves an hour to maybe 8. The shipping lines realized the problem with having Biden order the union back to work, said Peter. Oh, okay. So they're basically saying what would have happened if Biden basically told the workers striking, hey, if y'all need to go ahead and go back to work. But I mean, gotta give Biden credit for not going ahead and making the union workers go back to work, because I mean, they need to get paid. Longshoremen need to get paid, and the people who deal with the ports, the shipping, the shipping ports, they deserve to get paid. Give them what they're worth, you know. Give them what they're worth. This is kind of like when the truck drivers were. I'm surprised the truck drivers aren't striking, because basically, if there's no ports, the truckers can't even do any work. If there's no ports going from point A to point B, the truckers can't get any type of freight or nothing. So I'm surprised they're not striking too. But hey, I believe that the strike will be over in a significant small window of time, and they'll come to an agreement, and the upper echelon of people who are over the port workers will definitely be paying these people these workers what they're worth, just because of the fact that like the more time that's spent, like that the port is not moving and everything is at a standstill, it's affecting businesses like Walmart or Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, Kroger's, different entities, different store franchises are being affected by this all across the nation when things like this happen. So it's best to move at a quick pace, just like Biden said. So I feel like it'll be resolved in a timely manner. Very, 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 very timely manner. See here. Okay, so just going to move on. You're going to be moving on. Sticking with, news and an environmental thing. I know I call this the Just Facts podcast, and I don't really talk about news. But let me see. Go back to, because I had a lot of different things that I had saved up on just to talk about. Well, a good amount of this stuff is just stuff I wrote down. So just going through it. Okay, so I want to talk about the manipulation of weather, the geoengineering and climate control. This is a very heavily, well, I don't think it's heavily talked about, but I mean it's mentioned, but nobody really like veers and talks about it on an in-depth level like that. It is considered a conspiracy theory, but I mean, have you ever thought about the weather being controlled? Like, there's no way somebody lives in Florida and they're like, Florida has brought between Florida and Louisiana, the amount of weather, the amount of rain, the amount of hurricanes, tropical storms. Texas, the amount of rain, the amount of tropical storms, and then still Texas still turns around and the heat is overbearing. Like, it's like between the heat being overbearing and the rain deciding, hey, today is a hurricane, tomorrow is a tropical storm, this place is gonna flood, that area is gonna flood, Dallas is gonna see snow, Dallas is gonna see snow and tornadoes for a period of time. Like, nobody's ever wondered why that happens like that. Like, so it's like, while many conspiracy theories receive considerable attention, such as like UFOs, 9/11, global elite agendas, this topic, like about geoengineering and climate control, it's not really deeply explored. They call it weather manipulation, or as I've already stated, geoengineering. This conspiracy suggests that governments and powerful entities have been secretly controlling and altering weather patterns for strategic, political, and economic purposes. Though this idea might sound crazy, dang near delusional, it is grounded in real science and historical attempts at weather modification, leading some to believe that clandestine efforts could be more widespread than generally acknowledged. In this exploration, we will examine the history of geoengineering, the science behind weather modification, potential motives for such actions, and the arguments both for and against the plausible or plausibility of this conspiracy. So the idea of weather manipulation isn't something that just sprung up from out of nowhere. The earliest account of this goes back to the mid 20th century. One of the most notable, one of the most notable examples is called Project Cirrus, a 1947 experiment conducted by General Electric, the U.S. Army, and the U.S. Air Force, which sought to alter hurricanes by seeding them with dry ice. This experiment, though largely unsuccessful, sparked further interest in the possibility of controlling weather. Following that, in the 1960s and 1970s, Project Storm Fury attempted to weaken hurricanes by seeding them with silver iodine. The goal was to reduce the strength of hurricanes before they reached populated areas. Though this project was eventually abandoned due to limited success, it demonstrated that the idea of controlling weather was taken seriously by the government. Can you believe that? Just to veer off for a second. So there were already 2 attempts to manipulate the weather in America. Can you believe that? 2 attempts to manipulate the weather. And then the second one, let me go back and read that again. It says, hold on, let me find that. It says the goal for Project Storm Fury was to reduce the strength of hurricanes before they reach populated areas. Can you believe that? So they were trying to make hurricanes move through small towns, and then just say, all right, forget about it. Forget about going to like a big city. Like, what is that? That's crazy. One of the most controversial instances of weather manipulation occurred during the Vietnam War with Operation Popeye, where the U.S. military attempted to extend the monsoon season in Southeast Asia by cloud seeding. The operation goal was to flood enemy supply routes, particularly the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and disrupt North Vietnamese logistics. The use of weather modification as a weapon of war, ethical questions, it says the use of weather modification as a weapon of war raised ethical questions and led to the Environmental Modification Convention in 1978, a United Nations treaty that prohibited the use of weather manipulation for hostile purposes. Okay, so the UN saw that the United States was using weather manipulation in war on purpose to detract, Vietnam. And just to go back real quick, Operation Popeye. Let me just go look it up. It's crazy that there's actually on record. There's on record of these on record documentations of weather manipulation being like an actual thing. It's just absolutely crazy. Go into Operation Popeye. Operation Popeye. Let me look into this a little more. Look into this a little more if I can. This is an actual thing from March 1967 to 1970. March 1967 to November 1967. And then in South Asia until 1972. Okay. So basically from 1967 to 1972, the chemical weather modification program was conducted from Thailand over Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam, and allegedly sponsored by the Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. Why am I looking at this on Wikipedia? Wikipedia, it's not a good place to use. Let me see. Let me see here. Okay. All right. So, oh, there's more here. Says that a test phase of Project Popeye was approved by State and Defense and conducted during October in 1966 in a strip of the Lao Panhandle, generally east of Bolovens Plateau in the valley of Sekong River. The test was conducted without consultation with Lao authorities. Also, America was just doing whatever they wanted to do in another country. That's crazy. Let's see here. With the ambassador Sullivan's knowledge and currents, and to the best of our knowledge, remains unknown to other than a severely limited number of U.S. officials. Let me see here. There's so much here. Wow. The experimental phase of Popeye conducted during the rainy season does not provide sure indicators of the extent to which wet weather conditions can be recreated during normally dry periods, but DOD believes the induction of rainfall to be feasible, and to the extent its predictions are realized, that there would be an undoubted favorable military effect. The road network over which vehicular movement takes place in Laos, despite improvement as well as extension over the past 2 years, passes through mainly low-lying areas and is vulnerable to interruption in bad weather. Let me see here. What else is there? What else is there to this? Let's see. It says, how effective was Project Popeye? The results are viewed by DOD as outstandingly successful. It's 82% of the clouds seeded produced rain within a brief period after seeding, a percentage appreciably higher than normally expected in the absence of seeding. That is crazy. There's even pictures here. It's so crazy. Okay, so to just continue here, the science behind weather modification at the heart of geoengineering lies. Cloud seeding, the most widely recognized method of weather manipulation. Cloud seeding involves dispersing substances like silver iodide, potassium iodide, or dry ice into the clouds to encourage the precipitation. These chemicals provide nuclei around which water droplets can form, potentially increasing rainfall. Cloud seeding is used in several countries today, including China, the United States, and the UAE, typically for agricultural purposes or to alleviate drought conditions. Beyond cloud seeding, more recent discussions of solar radiation management have entered the debate on geoengineering. SRM involves techniques like injecting aerosol into the atmosphere to reflect sunlight and cool the planet, a potential countermeasure to global warming. While SRM hasn't been widely implemented, it is an area of active research, while scientists debating its feasibility, risks, and ethical implications. The scientists' efforts, while mostly transparent and intend for benign purposes, have fueled speculation about secretive, large-scale geoengineering projects designed to manipulate the climate for nefarious reasons. The motives behind weather manipulation, it says, in the case of geoengineering, there are several potential motives that drive speculation, including, but not limited to, military and strategic advantages. Obviously, I just went over like 3 different weather manipulation strategies that were used under the guise of the American military. That's pretty obvious. And in which the United Nations had to step in and be like, hey, hold up. Y'all can't do that. Y'all can't do that weather manipulation stuff for war. You can't go to another country and say, hey, we're about to like start manipulating y'all's weather just because we're at war with y'all. It says, as demonstrated in Operation Popeye, weather manipulation can be used as a tool of war. By controlling the weather, a military force could theoretically hinder an opponent's ability to wage war by creating unfavorable conditions such as heavy rain or drought. Some believe that advanced technology could be used today to influence weather patterns in enemy territory. Weather, it says economic control. Weather has a massive impact on the global community, economy. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm all over the place. Particularly in sectors like agriculture, energy, and insurance. By manipulating the weather, governments or corporations could theoretically create favorable conditions for their industries while disadvantaging competitors. For example, a country facing a drought could seed clouds over its agricultural regions to ensure its crops grow, while its rivals suffer from unfavorable weather. Climate engineering to combat global warming. Climate change is one of the greatest threats facing humanity, and some argue that the government are already secretly experimenting with geoengineering techniques to mitigate its effects. Proponents of this theory suggest that techniques like solar radiation management are already in use, though they remain hidden from the public due to potential risks and backlash. Why would our government say anything about anything that has to do with weather manipulation? Oh my goodness. You know how many delusional twinks would lose their ever loving mind if they ever got a chance to basically be proven right that there's been like weather manipulation? Oh my goodness. We would never hear the end of that. I ain't gonna lie, to a certain degree, I'm kind of glad they don't say anything about weather manipulation. Because I mean, it's already too many other things that the government has like hidden, and like it's basically been brought to light without them even saying anything. Also some political power and control has to do with conspiracy theory, arguing that weather manipulation is part of a broader agenda of control by causing or preventing natural disasters. Government could justify new policies, control populations, or even influence elections. For instance, a devastating hurricane before a major election could change public opinion or lead to a delay in voting, while long-term droughts could force migration and destabilize regions. Let me see here. Historical precedents. The existence of documented weather modification projects like Operation Popeye and Project Storm Fury shows that governments have previously engaged in weather manipulation, lending credence to the idea that these efforts might have continued in secret. Let's see here. I mean, to be honest with you, just at the end of it all with weather manipulation, I don't think it matters whether we know it or not. Whether we know it or not doesn't even matter. It's like, what is the public going to do about it? Nothing. Nothing. You really think if the U.S. government was really practicing manipulating the weather, and the media got a hold of something like that and they started broadcasting that it was happening, like, it's like, what can you do? You can't do anything. All you can do is move. And if you move out of America, who's to say that it's not happening outside of America? So it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So it's just like, okay, you just keep living your life. You just keep living your life, you know? There are so many like different like avenues you can really like, for weather manipulation versus against weather manipulation. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't really have any like proof or anything like that. It says some people point to unusual atmospheric phenomena such as chemtrails as evidence of ongoing weather manipulation. Chemtrails as a conspiracy goes under the guise of the condensation trails left by an airplane containing chemicals intended to influence the weather or control populations. I mean, it's not too far out of a thinking pattern. I mean, they used airplanes during those documented weather manipulation tactics. So why not, why not that being something that could potentially be? Of course, there's no probability, there's no recourse to knowing whether this stuff is true or not. So, I mean, if you want to go do your own research to figure it out, hey, cool. But I mean, like I said, there's only two documented. There's only 2 or 3 documented weather manipulation practices, basically. So you don't really have a lot to work with. So yeah, but I just thought that was something interesting as far as like weather manipulation. I've always heard about it, but I've never like taken my own time to put a magnifying glass on it and like just really look into it really at all. So I'm just gonna be moving on, man. Gonna be moving on, dog. Gonna move on to just drift all into something else, like going to be talking about Power Book 2 Ghost. I absolutely positively do not like this show as much as I did when it first came out. Actually, I still to this day still hate the fact that they gave the most hated person on the original Power a television show over Ghost, like Ghost himself having a television show. And I think that's so terrible, that they gave Tariq a show before they could give Tasha her own spinoff. Which I don't understand why they didn't just give Tasha her own spinoff so we could like know more about her being in the witness protection with her, with the only surviving daughter. Maybe we could have got a better storyline through her being in the witness protection program. But I mean, I know it's not a lot to work with her because of her being in the witness protection program. So it's like they just made her a side character in his spinoff, which, like I said, it doesn't. I don't understand why they gave Tariq his own spinoff just because he offed James St. Patrick and or Ghost. Doesn't make any sense to me. They gave him a spinoff and just said, screw it. Tate's not going to get a spinoff anymore, which I thought was stupid as hell. That would have been so fire to see how Rashad Tate would have been like how does he actually operate between like being a political source and being a former dirty cop who became who he is in the political world, and just showing who he used to be in when he was a police officer. That would have been nice to see. That would have been a change of direction from what the show is usually on. All gangsters doing this, dealing with Russians, dealing with Serbians, dealing with all of this, dealing with the regularly scheduled programming of the New York streets versus like a dirty police officer. You don't really hear there's not too many movies or television shows about dirty police officers. You know, besides maybe like Training Day and maybe a handful of other adaptations of that have to do with like a real life dirty cop. It's not that many. It's not really that many documented, but that would have been nice to see. But I'm gonna get into the ninth episode of Power Book 2 Ghost, which is in its fourth and final season. I'm just gonna rally it off. So, all right. One of the most consistent strengths of Power Book 2 is its deep character exploration, and this episode continues that trend with Tariq's evolution, highlighting a once naive, impulsive character. Tariq has grown into a more strategic and calculated player in the drug game. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna keep it so real with you when I say it. Like, they just keep running into a wall with Tariq. Tariq will do something good and then turn around and just destroy what good he did. Like, it's like the writers play cat and mouse with this character. Like, there's so many things that they did in the show where it was like, all right, like what was the point of that? What was the point of this? Why'd y'all do that? Like, y'all know y'all could have wrote that better, right? So, let me see here. Let me see. Like, if I could just go back real quick. Let me just go back to what I myself. This is so going back, just trying to find that plot real quick so I can like better know what was going on when I watched it. Y'all just give me a second here, man. Give me a second. Hold on. Okay. By the way, I do appreciate Noma, the character of Noma. She's pretty unique of a antagonist. Pretty unique as a character, because I mean, well, first of all, I've never really come across like a Nigerian drug dealer in a major television show. That's one thing I think that is pretty interesting itself. So, now, from what I can gather, another strange thing I'm wondering about is what happened to Lauren. Where did Lauren go? Did she leave? Like, what did they do with her character? Is she just randomly gone? I don't even think they really even wrote anything about where she went. I don't know where she went. So basically what we got here is Noma and Kane Tejada are getting married. And if you haven't watched the episode, just please don't please don't listen to this if you haven't watched the episode. It says, what does it say? So Kane, Tejada, and Noma decide to get married so Noma could get her citizenship. Basically, you know, this is a practice that is a real thing in real life. People actually get married for paperwork, so it's a real thing. I'm kind of glad they incorporated that in this television show because it's not something that really is talked about so much. So, you know, it's a Nigerian custom type of thing. I love that they showcase Noma being Nigerian as well as embracing all of the culture of Noma being Nigerian. So, that's something that's represented throughout the wedding. You know, they're wearing native Nigerian attire and everything like that. So, it's so funny because Kane is beefing with his family, right? And even though he's beefing with his family, he still want his mama to come to his wedding. He still want his brother and his sister Diana and Drew to come to his wedding. It's so weird, like, dog, huh? That's so weird to me. So I thought that was pretty funny because I'm like, you really sitting up here begging them to come to your wedding and everything like that. I mean, I know they have to put up a front because of, you know, to make it look legit because of like the whole citizenship thing and everything like that. So, let me see. What else did I find interesting? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Monet actually have softening her heart and basically telling Kane, "Hey man, like I'm sorry I treated you a certain way as you being my son, but you know, this is how it is. This is how it was, you know, the area where we grew up was rough and, you know, I should be treating you better and I should have treated you better and all this other stuff." Let's see. I think Kane has a chance to Kane is either gonna get a spinoff show on his own because he said like Kane doesn't have any aspirations outside of dealing drugs. He doesn't have any aspirations outside of the street life. The street life is all he knows. I mean, look at who his mother is. Look at who his father is, Lorenzo. Monet and Lorenzo both are in cahoots with drug dealing. So if that's all the Tejada children see, that's all Kane is gonna be. I mean, even though I feel like, you know, Diana and Drew can actually become something. I think Drew is too far into being a crash out, and there's no way for him to come out of that arc of what put him there, you know, because at first he was a decent young man in the beginning seasons, and he wasn't on nothing crazy or anything like that, and he was focused on something. But you know, once Lorenzo kept pushing Drew, it's like, hey, I need you. You're the one. You're my number two. You know, the thing of like pushing Drew to work for the family business, so to speak, put like a battery in his back that shouldn't have even been initiated. So I feel like he has like a aspiration to be like an artist or something like that. I mean, maybe he'll pick up on that. I don't know, but as far as I could tell you, I think Drew is too far into being a crash out from, like, you know, dealing with this Carter person, this dirty police officer Carter, and dealing with him and basically forcing him to be on missions. the Carter character, he's I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Carter because he just like randomly comes in just for a little short period of time. And then I think another thing that like got on my nerves. Well, but I'll get to it. But uh, what was another funny thing was Kane is smashing Effie, right? And Noma is smashing Davis like the day before their wedding. Like, what is that? That is so like, bro. That's so like, I'm like, what is going on here? This ain't no marriage. This ain't no. How y'all smashing y'all side pieces? How y'all smashing y'all side pieces the day before y'all wedding? It just don't make no dang sense. It doesn't compute with me. It just doesn't make any sense. Let me see here. Okay, here is something that yeah, it's just like I said. They made like a reference to Lauren, and I think that's the reason why I questioned like, where is she? like, like y'all just said forget her. She may as well never come back because like they don't know how to go about like writing her off of the show. I mean, the show's over now, so it doesn't even matter. Like they're at the end of the show. Obviously, my dream of Tariq just being offed by one of the Tejadas is not gonna happen. Um, it's not gonna happen. Obviously. Um, what else is there? What else is there? Okay, let me get to this right here. So let me set the scene for you guys. So Carter is a dirty cop that has been using like in this season 4, he has been using the Tejadas and Braden and no, is it? Yeah. The Tejadas and Braden and Effie and Tariq. All. He's been making them do whatever he wants them to do. Because of course he's a police officer and he can make things happen that put like the Tejadas in jail, put Tariq in jail, put everybody in jail. So he just been throwing his power around, so to speak. So I think it was the previous episode, Noma and Carter. Well, actually, I believe it was Tariq that gave up Noma, or gave up something in regards to like trying to set up Noma. They were trying. I think it was somebody was trying to set up Noma, and Noma ends up meeting Carter, and Carter and Noma try to get Monet in this episode set up and basically get her like, out of here through making her go to a location and giving her keys to like something she could okay, so giving her ownership of something, and all she had to do is go get it, not knowing that she was running into an ambush that was like put together by Noma and this dirty cop Carter. So while that is going on, that happens and Monet actually survives. And after she survives, Tariq and I lost my train of thought just now. Tariq and Monet plot to have something happen to Noma. And something happen to Carter. Because Carter has been a pain in the side of every person associated with Tariq. So, this is the particular scene I am so pissed off about because, like, Tariq is nothing like his father. So, let me set the scene. So, Drew is in cahoots with Carter. And like I said, Carter has everybody. It's like he has control of everything, basically. So Drew gives up where Carter goes, which he goes to a church to do confessionals or prayer or whatever, right? And so Tariq makes it a case to go to this church. He brings Effie. He tells Effie and Braden to take control of security cameras so he can go in there, do the thing, be done, out of the way. That's it, right? So Carter goes to the church, and then Tariq comes to the church. He's on the other side of the confession box, because there's always like a priest in the confession box when somebody is on the other side giving their confessional. So this man, Tariq, goes into the confession box. Here comes Carter. Carter is on the other side of the confession box. I don't know if he was saying a prayer or whatever, but here comes Tariq, right? Tariq justifiably was supposed to take his weapon, aim the weapon through the confession box wall, and just pull the trigger. Easy. That's what Ghost would have done. What does this guy do? He gets up, comes out of the confession box, and then opens the confession box where Carter is and makes him, or does he? I don't even think he makes it inside the confession box. No. He's inside the confession box. Tariq comes out of his side of the confession box, opens it, and basically just points the gun at Carter and just starts talking a whole bunch of nothing. And Carter's like, saying a whole bunch of nothing too. And then somehow Carter maneuvers the gun from Tariq. Like, who writes this, bro? What is that? Who writes this, dog? Like, Ghost would have like aimed it in the confession box wall on the other side. Carter would have been boom, bam, ping, and that's it. I don't know what the motive was behind why they didn't do it. Maybe because he's a cop, and if Tariq, ends a cop, he's gonna go to jail for a long time, which doesn't make any sense because if I remember correctly, right? If I remember correctly, I believe it's either season 1. No. It's season 2 or season 3. Isn't there a season where one of the Tejadas kills a police officer? Why is it all of a sudden risky for, I think it was Kane Tejada that offed a police officer that was working for Monet? Why is it all of a sudden a touchy thing to do for them to off an officer? Matter of fact, hold on. Diana just got through offing an officer Diana Tejada just got through offing an officer that like beat her up while she was pregnant. So why is it all of a sudden touch and go with this guy who's been making y'all's lives a living hell? I don't know who's writing this, but you need to be fired You need to be fired because that, out of everything in this episode, pissed me off to my core. To my core. I was so angry. I wanted to turn the episode off completely after watching that. It made me so mad. Like, why didn't you just pull the trigger while you were in the confession box? Boom, boom, bing. That's it. You know? But no, y'all want to do all this extra stuff. Just continue. Like, what is it even? Like, why? Why? Y'all, like, bruh, come on now. Ridiculousness. And then Effie and Braden running out trying to figure out whether they should shoot Carter. Like, bro, it's ridiculousness, bro. Ridiculousness. The whole episode was chaotic. At the end of it all, Monet Tejada ends up going out in a blaze of gunfire because of Noma took all of the Tejadas and like tied them up and everything like that. And while Kane was tied up, while Kane was tied up, Noma was standing in front of him with her brother right next to her, and he was just explaining how like his mom was everything to him. She was there for him through all of the dark times when he was growing up and all this other stuff. And here comes Monet shooting bodyguards like this is some Wild West cowboy movie or something like that. Really, really on some Billy Western type stuff. They really made it look like that. They put on some Tupac music. It was so ruthless. They was putting on Tupac music for Mary J. Blige. The CGI blood landing on her just didn't leave for a good effect. They could have did that a little better, considering the money that they make from this show. Could have been a little bit better with the visual effects. At this point in time, Monet gets shot and she's on the ground, and Kane is still tied up and screaming for his mom because like she's sitting there like bleeding out and everything like that. This whole episode was chaotic, bro. Completely chaotic. Completely chaotic, bro. What didn't I mention? Effie getting accepted into the mechanical robotic program that she would basically have to leave and go to California for. Diana struggling with her exam and pretty much getting up and leaving. What else? I think I got that. I basically talked about everything. I talked about everything. Excuse me. But yeah, this whole episode was chaotic. I don't know if I give a damn about whatever's gonna happen in the next episode because I'm sick of this show. I'm sick of this show. I'm glad it's ending. I hope I never have to see another installment of Tariq being anywhere near power again because I hate him. I literally hate him. I hate his character. Michael Rainey Jr. does such an amazing job as an actor. I just hate the character of Tariq. He has been a thorn in the side of many people who are locked into the power universe. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. This whole entire episode was chaotic. They really, 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 really could have done a better job with just everything about this episode. So that's how I feel about it. Don't want to talk your head. Don't want to continue going on with it. So let's just move on to the next thing. What is the next thing? What we got? Ooh, okay. So I just started getting into this show called Fight Night. It's a television show that is kind of like elaborating a little bit on the real life, um, a real life robbery that happened in the 1970s. In the 1970s, during a Muhammad Ali fight. Okay, so Fight Night is a television series that combines the elements of action, drama, and crime. Um, well, it's set in the city of Atlanta. Like I said, it's based or centered around the time of Muhammad Ali having this fight, this big heavyweight fight in Atlanta. So there's a guy. So let me just tell you who's in the show. It's Kevin Hart. It's there's Don Cheadle's in the show. You have Samuel Jackson. You have David Banner. You have Taraji P. Henson. You have who else? Who else do we have in this show? Terrence Howard's in the show. Who else? There are quite a few different like elements as far as acting entities that are in this show, basically. So, just to go into it, so Kevin Hart is playing this guy named Chicken, and he wanted to basically bring all like so he knows somebody. So Kevin Hart is playing this guy named Chicken, and Chicken does like he runs numbers and does all this stuff that hustlers do in the 1970s. Let's see here. The Chicken Man's desire to profit from the event, as far as like the Ali thing, despite the potential of wrongdoing, he has no concept of these people, these gangsters, basically coming to his house and doing some crazy stuff. And the underlining thing of it, and this is just from like episode 1, there's like a guy that Chicken knows, and through that Chicken knows through that guy, basically Chicken knows this guy, and the guy that he knows those gangsters, and it's like they needed a place to go to party, right? And you have Samuel Jackson playing Black Godfather, right? So just to give you a synopsis, just episode 1. I'm gonna keep it at episode 1 because I have a lot to talk about. So I'm just gonna go through the different characters on this show for real. Like I said, Gordon Chicken Man, is it Williams? Chicken Man Williams. Okay, you have Don Cheadle as JD Hudson. He's a police officer. Terrence Howard as Cadillac Richie. You have Taraji P. Henson as Vivian Thomas. Samuel Jackson is Frank Moten, who is like, that's an actual person who in real life was an actual boss. You have Sinqua Walls as McKinley Mac Rogers. You have a lot of different entities on here. Let me see here. So one, like I said, I'm just gonna focus on the first episode. Let me see. So the first episode is just basically detailing everything that gets to the moment where these gangsters are to be robbed. And they focus a lot on, like I said, the Muhammad Ali fight, and then they have somebody who plays Muhammad Ali. I wouldn't. He played an all right Muhammad Ali. So, as far as I can tell you, with just episode 1, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting to me. I would say go check it out. It's not a bad story. And then it's based on an actual true story that happened of there being a robbery happening during a Muhammad Ali fight. So I would say go check it out. Very definitive thing there. So I'm just gonna move on from that, because I mean I wrote a whole bunch of stuff about it, but at the same token, I want to get to some WWE, some NCAA football. I want to get to a lot of stuff. So, I'm actually going to be focusing on the latest. I was going to focus on the Raw from last weekend, but the new Raw happened today. So, I'm going to be focusing on Monday Night Raw from yesterday. So we're just gonna go through each and every segment that I can. So you had Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed facing off in a last monster standing match, and oh man, was this a really good match? This was actually a really good match. It ended off in a First of all, I didn't know that Braun Strowman, they got Braun Strowman on the top ropes doing dives and stuff. I'm like, man, what is going on here? What is going on here? And then they end up going into like the spot where whenever it's two big wrestlers, they make the ring collapse. They have like that trigger that makes the ring collapse. And honestly, to be honest with you, when they did it this time, they didn't make it look like how it usually looks whenever two big men go up for a superplex from the top ropes. They Bronson Reed only went from the second rope, versus when it was like Big Show and Mark Henry, and they went from the top. They did a superplex spot from the top rope. They actually got on the top ropes just to make it look believable, as opposed to Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman. I don't know whose fault that was, but Bronson Reed went from the second rope to initiate the superplex, and he just stayed on the second rope when he did it. Like, he didn't go all the way to the top. I don't know if that was because Braun Strowman is too tall or what, but honestly, it should have been the other way around. You should have had Braun Strowman go and do the spot, initiate the spot, because he was taller, versus Bronson Reed, who's a little bit shorter than Braun Strowman. But the ring collapses, and Seth Rollins ends up coming out and does his that foot stomp move to Bronson Reed while he is groggy, holding on to some steel steps with his head like dangling as he's holding on to the steel steps. And ultimately, Braun Strowman wins the match, and that's it on that when they go off air. Going through everything else. Let me see here. They got. Oh, so WWE acknowledges the passing of Pete Rose, and his legacy in baseball and wrestling. Jey Uso's celebration on Monday Night Raw, highlighting him as a Intercontinental Champion. By the way, I do just want to say that I don't think Jey Uso is going to be champion very long. They're about to do him so crazy. Pause. They're about to treat him so crazy as Intercontinental Champion. I don't understand what Jey Uso does to deserve the bad treatment that he's been getting. Why did it take so long for him to become a champion of any sort? Because he's literally one of the highest sellers of merchandise in the WWE. He gets used more than a lot of talent. He gets pushed more than a lot of talent, and just in general, he is a branding, advertising gold mine, basically. Yeet is the hottest thing right now in wrestling, period. And he should literally be in more like championship conversations than this. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they just snatch the title off of Jey Uso and give it back to Braun Breaker. I bet you anything that'll happen. So it says Braun Breaker defeating Jey Uso, indicating that he is the person who will be competing against Jey Uso for his Intercontinental title, which could put together a storyline that could be Braun Breaker, Jey Uso for the Intercontinental title, and they could make like a long storyline out of that. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, they're trying to make they're slowly trying to turn Xavier Woods on Kofi Kingston and basically break up the New Day. See here. I'm going to be honest when I say this. I'm going to be so honest when I say this. We're getting into the rivalry of Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. And I'm just going to say this explicitly. This is not on my notes. I am sick and tired of Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. Like, I understand long-term storytelling, but man, how many times are we going to see CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre? How many pay-per-views are y'all going to keep pushing this narrative of Drew McIntyre and CM Punk? I mean, is there nobody else for CM Punk to go against? Like, CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Can we start the CM Punk and Seth Rollins moneymaker already, bro? Like where is the CM Punk and Seth Rollins arc already? I'm ready. Let's see it, man. It's money to be made. Y'all continuing with Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, like, knock it off already, bro. Can we move on? I'm tired already. There's nobody else. There's literally nothing else you can do with this. They have gone against each other. They have spoke candidly evil things against each other. And y'all just continuing. I thought it was over at SummerSlam or whatever the last pay-per-view was that him and Punk went against each other. But like, they're still going. They're still doing this. It's still going and going and going. Like, can we, like, is there a way to end this? Because I'm done. I'm tired. I'm tired of Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. Like, for real. Like this has to be the stopping point. Y'all can't take this to Survivor Series. Y'all can't take this to Royal Rumble. I don't want to have to see CM Punk and Drew McIntyre at Royal Rumble or Survivor Series. Like, surely you're not taking Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk to WrestleMania. God, I hope not. Please don't. Please don't. I'm tired. I am tired. Y'all been doing this. Y'all been holding this down since WrestleMania of this year. Please don't send it to WrestleMania in Vegas. I'm tired, bro. And don't even let me get. I'm gonna get into Cody Rhodes and why is he still dealing? Why are they still inputting him into the bloodline situation? But let's move down. Okay, so Sami Zayn is somehow being put in a world title match against Gunther. Now, is there nobody else that could go against Gunther? Y'all couldn't go and get Dragunov couldn't go against Gunther on Monday Night Raw for the World Heavyweight on free TV? You first of all, y'all are giving us Sami Zayn versus Gunther on free TV. That's first of all. Second of all, why is Sami Zayn that person? Like, didn't he just lose to Braun Breaker? He just lost his Intercontinental title to Braun Breaker, and Braun Breaker in turn lost the title to Jey Uso, which I don't understand. Like, how is he just all of it? Well, how do y'all just jump from making it about Sami Zayn relinquishing his title to Braun Breaker, who relinquished his reign with the title to Jey Uso? Why didn't they just make it a 3-person storyline? Why can't we just get Sami Zayn, Braun Breaker, and Jey Uso in a feud? Like, they don't believe in triple threat matches anymore? I don't understand that. How do you make Sami Zayn leave the Intercontinental Championship and then all of a sudden he's fighting Gunther? I get that Gunther was Intercontinental Champion some time ago and Sami Zayn won it from him, but why is he how the hell did he jump the line to get a World Heavyweight title shot? Make sense. Who is writing this BS, bro? Like, come on. Are we serious? BS. Why? Sami Zayn just all of a sudden gets a World Heavyweight title shot. That is some bull-ish. Like, Chad Gable, they don't want Chad Gable to go against Gunther. Because I'd pay money to see that. Chad Gable versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. I'd like to see that just at least one time. Dragunov against Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Would like to see that at least one time. Sami Zayn can sit his ass down somewhere. That's all I'm saying. He doesn't have to be used in every capacity. That's all I'm saying. Like, seriously. Let me see here. Sheamus and Pete Dunne are going to be having a Donnybrook match, whatever the hell that is. Maybe it's some Irish thing, I don't know. A bunch of shillelaghs to hit each other over the head or whatever. What else is there from Monday Night Raw? Oh yeah, Miz basically turns on R-Truth, which in turn is gonna make him go back to being a heel, and we're gonna get Hollywood Miz back, which is a good thing. I actually like that. I actually didn't really care for Miz being part of a tag team with R-Truth. It's like it takes the value out of his character. So Miz turns on R-Truth. That was a good one. What else is there? And I think that's about it. Overall, I give this show like a 5.2. 5.2 wasn't that bad. I mean, I don't usually like watching Raw anyway because Raw is Hollywood. Raw is your Hollywood television show that you check for. SmackDown is your more competitive, more technical, more wrestling based television show for the most part, in my opinion. So is NXT. NXT is your more technical wrestling. And then, there are also other factors in that make people watch NXT, So I just want to get into one thing before I move on from that. I'm going to be talking about why I think that and this is just the truth. Why did they decide to put Cody Rhodes back into the fold of the Samoans or the bloodline, whatever you want to call them? Roman Reigns is defeated by Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, right? Took his championship. He personally said that, Roman, you're going to lose everything. You're going to lose your family. You're going to lose your wise man. You're going to lose this belt, which it all happened. He lost his, he leaves. He takes a break from being in the spotlight because he was in the spotlight for so long as, the Universal Champion, undisputed Universal Champion, having the bloodline. Jey Uso breaks off from the bloodline. Sami Zayn breaks off from the bloodline. While Roman Reigns is not around, the bloodline begins to crumble even more. Jimmy gets kicked out of the bloodline. Solo takes over as leader of the bloodline. The wise man eventually gets tossed from the bloodline. And then you have Tama Tonga and Tangaloa brought in, and then you have Jacob Fatu brought in to make the Bloodline 2.0. And Roman eventually comes back after all of the terrorization from Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline 2.0, because it is a bloodline. It is a original tribal chief versus Bloodline 2.0 situation, because things have gotten chaotic and it's not the same as it used to be. Me personally, I don't really care for the Bloodline 2.0. Carbon copy Solo Sikoa has no aura to me, like in any way possible. I rather enjoy Jacob Fatu. He is going to be a serious problem when they decide to start pushing him for main events and him being in title matches. So he's going to be a real problem, for real. Tangaloa, Tama Tonga and Tangaloa. Tama Tonga's pretty. He's good. Tangaloa, he's a botch machine, in my opinion. He's a botch machine. He botches a lot. So Roman Reigns comes back at SummerSlam, and we're basically starting original tribal chief versus Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline. So I don't know where in there you need to add Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes needs to be focused on something else. Why insert him in there? That doesn't make any sense. And now we're at a point where they were in like I believe this is last week. They were in like Georgia Tech Stadium, because that's where Roman used to play football at Georgia Tech. And you know, they make it reminiscent that yeah, he used to play football at Georgia Tech, and you know, he's like, "Oh, I own this. You know, this is my city." And Cody Rhodes had to like basically let Roman Reigns know, "Hey, no, my family built this city as far as like wrestling goes in Georgia." Um, and he just took him down a history, took him down a history lesson, so to speak. But why is, once again, I ask myself, and I ask whoever is writing this stuff, why is Cody Rhodes involved in a bloodline issue and matter? He beat Roman Reigns. Granted, he's feuding with Solo Sikoa and the bloodline, but what does he literally have to do with Roman Reigns and the bloodline 2.0? Nothing. He beat Roman Reigns. He's beat Solo Sikoa. He's not even really supposed to be in the matter. He should be focusing on his next contender to his title. This just seems like a way to navigate and push away from him defending that title at Bad Blood. So now, oh yeah, let's just put him in a tag team match with Roman Reigns versus is it Tama Tonga and Tangaloa, or Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu? I don't know. Or is it Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa that are going to be tagging versus Roman and Cody? Which, it, like I said, it doesn't make any sense. Why? Why would you? That's like catching your significant other cheating on you, and you're cool with the person who your significant other cheated on you with. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all, and they're wrong for that. Long-term storytelling works when it makes sense. It doesn't work when you just insert people in things that have no business being there. That's just how I feel about that. Doesn't work. And it shouldn't be that way. So I'm gonna move on to AEW. AEW Grand Slam. If you haven't watched Grand Slam, so we have a AEW World Tag Team Championship. Oh, hey, look at this. Young Bucks versus Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. I just don't understand why the people who are big wigs in the company are like putting themselves over as champion. Like, if I have to go back and figure out, like, there are probably so many instances where the Young Bucks are champions, tag champions, trios champions. There's too many instances where the Young Bucks are flipping champions. Like, man, why don't the Young Bucks ever take a break? Like, do they have to be champions all the time? Do they have to be at the forefront of, like, the company? Like, they cannot, like, I see why Cody Rhodes left. This was one reason why he left, because he didn't want to put himself over. And Young Bucks just continuously put themselves over. Just continuously. You have the Young Bucks who are like basically they're controllers of, they have certain control in the company, versus Kyle Fletcher and the guy who has been paid handsomely to be on TV every single week in AEW, which, you know, AEW's Seth Rollins is Will Ospreay. I get that. That makes sense. All right. A lot of high energy and action went on in this match. You can only imagine what type of acrobatics was going on in this match, in my opinion. But I will give credit to AEW. They do their best to focus on wrestling, and I like that. You know, WWE has what they're good at, and AEW has what they're good at. Even if they can, it can be a crutch sometimes. You know, good match. It was a good match. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Will Ospreay stopped Kyle Fletcher from using a screwdriver to try to jockey into a position of dominance to win the match. And Will Ospreay was like, hell nah. Which it doesn't make sense even more that Will Ospreay is part of a heel faction and he's a face. That don't make no sense at all. But the Young Bucks, as predicted, won the match and are still AEW Tag Team Champions. So we're moving on. Prince Nana, who is the manager of Swerve Strickland. Swerve, go. It's wanna drive. No, he basically spoke on Swerve Strickland. As you know, if you don't remember, they had a pay-per-view beforehand where Swerve Strickland went against what's his name? Hangman Adam Page in a lights out steel cage match. By the way, the wording for this is so stupid. Lights out. They had me believing when I saw it that it was going to be lights out. Like, you know how in the past when Bray Wyatt went against Seth Rollins, they were like, it was basically lights out, and they had like this special red light that they made them wrestle in. Like, they wrestled in a special red light and they wrestled in a cage. That's what I thought this was going to be. But it wasn't clear enough that it was lights out just means that it's a no holds barred match. And if it's a no holds barred match, why don't you just say it's a no holds barred match? Anything goes instead of a lights out match. Like, I know y'all are trying to be like different with your wording, but like lights out makes a pretty different distinction to make it seem like y'all are turning out the lights and it's just going to be like one spotlight on the cage and y'all just are fighting in the cage with all of the main lights shut out and just one spotlight being the factor. But what do I know? I'm just trying to help y'all with y'all's vocabulary because y'all are confusing. But basically, Prince Nana is like giving an update on Swerve Strickland because Swerve Strickland got his ass beat by Adam Hangman Page. He got his ass beat by Hangman Page, bro. Goodness Lord. And then while he's making the update, here comes MVP Montel Vontavious Porter. You know what I'm saying? Very interesting how they allowed MVP to like keep his name. I guess maybe he trademarked his name. Basically, in this whole entire conversation, MVP just basically said that like, hey, while Swerve has had success and, you know, he's been world champion and all of this, he's also had some bad things happen to him. You know, the child at home getting burned up, some losses happening, and even this loss that he just had. And all this happened under your watch, Prince Nana. I'm paraphrasing, but basically he was like, everything that has happened is because of you, Prince Nana. And basically, he's like, hey, if Swerve ever needs some type of new management, just give him my card. And, you know, some people are speculating that, like, oh, hey, I don't think Swerve will leave Prince Nana as his manager, and we're probably going to be getting Bobby Lashley's probably coming to AEW, and maybe we're getting Kenny King or Cedric Alexander coming, you know, and we're probably getting a new Hurt Business, which I'm here for because, you know, they couldn't do it in WWE under Vince McMahon or under Triple H, which, you know, I'll get into that later. Okay. Next thing is TNT Championship. Jack Perry has an open challenge. You know, he shows up in that dusty old black bus. I'm sorry, I cannot stand Jack Perry. Like, he be doing too much for no reason. Like he thinks he has an aura he doesn't actually have. It's very sad in my opinion. Very, very sad in my opinion, just because of, like, he only has the level of acclaim he has because of CM Punk. And I would rather him just admit that than to just, you know, continue to sit up here and just think him being a bad guy is giving him any value when you're not that guy, Jack Perry. I don't believe you're that guy. You're just a random human being who got choked by CM Punk, and now you're using that to make it seem like you're just this top heel or something like that in AEW. Like, you're not. You're the last for anybody to even go check out. But okay, we're moving on to AEW Women's World Championship. Mariah May versus Yuka Sakazaki. The match had like different highlights. So in an opening sequence, Yuka hit a springboard crossbody and May's brutal shotgun dropkick on the outside. The back and forth action kept the crowd engaged. Yuka's counters and May's stiff offense has a story to be told. The match ultimately lacked a true sense of urgency. Mariah May still ended up winning the match. Moving forward, we have the FTW Championship. So basically after what is his name? Well, Hook got through with the match or whatever, and he won the FTW title, which I don't even understand why you ever even brought in the FTW title. Like, there's too many titles anyway. It's absolutely too many titles to keep up with in AEW. Like, literally, it's too many titles. Too many titles in AEW. Like, just cut it down, please. Please cut it down. There's so many. But let me see here. So basically, after Hook won the FTW title, he basically retired the title and gave it back to his dad, Taz. If you didn't know already, the FTW title is a title that Taz created back in ECW that wasn't ever actually an official ECW title, and it was just a title that he himself made up to defend in ECW. And I guess for a long time after ECW got bought and closed, it wasn't used again. And then once Taz got into AEW and his son Hook was able to be brought on board on AEW, they considered that to be an idea that they could like play around with and boy, did they ever. So after that, the last thing here would be John Moxley versus Darby Allin. I believe this is probably one of the best feuds you could really build off of, because you have somebody like John Moxley who is crazy as hell as far as extreme wrestling goes. And then you have like the Daredevil who is Darby Allin. So you put those two together, it doesn't matter if they're a face or a heel, you put those two together and you will have a sort of I'm gonna be honest, this is money. Darby Allin and John Moxley is money. It's money. Like, bro, if they decide to do like some type of like hardcore, any type of hardcore match, this would be perfect. It would be perfect. These two are both psychotic and crazy. It would be perfect. Overall, as far as the whole entire product is concerned, you know, they have some things they're lacking in, but as far as like the wrestling goes, I loved it. Wasn't bad at all. Wasn't bad at all. It's just, you know, there's some work that needs to be done as far as like microphone work. That is all how I feel about it. Let me see here. And then we got college football from last week, bro. College football from last week, right? BYU versus Baylor. BYU ended up winning. BYU's offense by Kedon Slavis was unstoppable. Slavis threw for 345 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's amazing. All right. Kelani Sataki's team showed resilience, holding off a late Baylor rally to remain unbeaten. So 5-0 with Chase Roberts coming out with 115 yards and a score. Baylor's defense really did struggle, allowing too many chuck plays, especially in the passing game. Their offense made a late push but failed to complete the comeback. Quarterback Sawyer Robinson couldn't get into a rhythm early, only finding momentum late. A lot of penalties for Baylor and missed tackles really costed them the game, which propelled BYU to control the game as a whole. Okay, so the one that everybody was talking about from last weekend, Georgia versus Alabama. Man. This was a really good game. The heavyweight SEC showdown between these two. A number 2 and a number 4. Alabama's quarterback, Jalen Milroe, threw for 310 yards and 3 touchdowns. Defensively, Alabama had pressure on Carson Beck, forcing a few third down stops. Georgia really did struggle with the run game. A major part of their offense was managing a 78 yards of total rushing. Beck's inaccuracy due to the pressure he was under by Alabama had a key hand in everything. Georgia had too many secondary drives with deep shots but Alabama's wide receiver Jermaine Burton torched Georgia for 162 yards and 2 touchdowns. So just in general, Georgia versus Alabama was a complete game, man. Like it's like the bragging rights for that game was on display, like for real. Then you got Louisville versus Notre Dame, my favorite school. Notre Dame ends up winning the game. It was a back and forth game. Notre Dame's defense had huge stops late in the game to come up with the win. Riley Leonard threw 2 touchdown passes and ran for another. Under pressure, Louisville's offense was very inconsistent. They had 21 points in the second half, but didn't really capitalize on early red zone opportunities. The Cardinals' special team missed a field goal, and poor kickoff coverage had them in bad field position. So, and then you got Texas Longhorns versus the Mississippi Bulldogs, I believe it is. Texas is one of the best teams in the, well, not one of, they are the best team in the country. Just from start to finish, Quinn Ewers had another cool performance with 303 passing yards and 4 total touchdowns. The Longhorns defense forced 3 turnovers, including 2 interceptions by cornerback Ryan Watts. Mississippi State's offense was very flat for a good amount of the game. They couldn't move the ball on the ground, only gaining 78 rushing yards. Their quarterback, Will Rogers, was sacked 5 times. Mississippi State's secondary was not there. They gave up several long passes, including 2 touchdowns for over 50 yards, which put the game out of reach. So you know what happened there. Ole Miss versus Kentucky. Ole Miss, which is a number 6 team, and Kentucky is not ranked. Somehow Kentucky came out with the win. Interesting. They pulled a massive upset on a ranked Ole Miss team. Quarterback Devin Leary threw 2 touchdowns, and running back Ray Davis rushed for 112 yards. Ole Miss couldn't put together a run, and they missed a lot of opportunities in the red zone. Jackson Dart struggled and threw 2 interceptions. Lane Kiffin's play calling came into question as Ole Miss couldn't convert on key 3rd and 4th down plays. Pretty interesting. So Ole Miss ends up losing to Kentucky. Michigan, a number 12 Michigan versus Minnesota. All right, Michigan extended their 27 straight conference win. Blake Corum rushed for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns. The defense forced 3 turnovers. Michigan's passing game was nowhere to be found, as Alex Orji threw for only 86 yards and was sacked 4 times. Minnesota's poor clock management at the end of the game cost them a chance to complete the comeback. But ultimately, Michigan wins the game 27-24. Ohio State versus Michigan State. Yes. The Battle of the Midwest. So, Ohio State's defense was holding Michigan State to just 212 total yards. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a incredible game with 8 passes for 163 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kyle McCord was throwing 285 yards and scored 3 touchdowns. Michigan State's offense was horrible. Quarterback Noah Kim completing 12 out of 27 passes for 115 yards. There was no answer for Ohio State's defense. Michigan State's secondary was very exposed. Ohio State decided to start picking them apart as the game went on. And that is the end of the sports segment of my show. Hope I didn't bore you guys with the way I was talking. It is October 1st, 2024. I hope everybody has a wonderful October, and I will see you on the next installation of this podcast. And hopefully I have more information. You guys take it easy.